Join me on a fascinating journey where I show you some of the techniques used in scale aeromodelling. Hello again modellers, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be looking at more detailing work on the Blackburn monoplane, just for a change. We're getting closer towards the end now, and I'm soon going to have to do something that I'm still in two minds as to whether it's the right thing, and it could completely ruin the whole model if this is wrong, or if I'm making the wrong decision here. To me, the aircraft is the wrong colour. It should be a sort of a creamy white, clear doped linen, CDL, the modellers call it. I'm fairly rubbish at colours. I really am rubbish at mixing colours. So I've gone by the IPMS guys because they really are pretty good with getting the colours authentic, and they're pretty anal about it, which is what I want to be. So what they've suggested is that I use Tamiya XF, it's just white, I guess it's just XF. I thought it would have a number, but Tamiya XF, it's flat white. And they've suggested that I need 9 parts of Tamiya white to 1 part of this other beastie. Let's put my glasses on, I actually might be able to read it. It's got to be more than XF. Tamiya XF. XF88. Can't read it. Tamiya XF88 is the colour, and that is a dark yellow number 2. And that's apparently the colour I need to mix with this Tamiya XF2, which is a flat white, in a 9:1 ratio. I think what I'll do is I'll probably mix up 9:1-ish ratio of one jar, one jar's worth of white, and see how it looks. I've got some test pieces of airframe. It has some dope on it, and what I intend to do is just spray that colour on there, and then I'll show you what it looks like, and we'll decide should we spray the whole airframe in this or not. Now, clear dope linen on the full size is virtually see-through. It's not quite, but it is, and you can see most of the structure underneath. And a lot of the structure underneath is tubing on the full size, certainly around the tailplane and the elevators and the fin and rudder. And mine is also looks like tubing. On the full size it's painted black before they covered it, and mine is naturally black underneath. But what I'm getting is a little bit too much black, I think, showing through. So I need to tone that down. So what I'm hoping I can do is just put a very light dusting of this clear dope linen yellow, yellowy white onto the surface, and that the structure underneath will still show through but won't be quite so strong, and I might be able to maybe spray areas and not spray areas. We'll see how it goes, but I'm not going to know that until I start spraying paint, and then we'll know. So but before that, I'm just going to show you just do a little bit of a walk around the model as it stands at the moment, because I've added lots of little details over the weekend, and not enough to make a video, and they were too tight in to be able to see what I was doing. So I've left it as a sort of a walk around video as to show you what I've been up to. So here we have the model in all its resplendent glory. It's getting better and better all the time. What I've been working on, you'll have seen all the cowl work get done. Well, that's done. I've added 2 fuel filler, a fuel and an oil filler cap to the top. I'm not amazingly stunned with how they've come out, but they don't look terrible. The cowl, as you know, is all made. I think we showed all of that. I've also made this aluminium deflector. The engine turns counterclockwise when you look from the front, and the cylinders are a total loss castor oil type system. So oil is being flung out of this thing all the time, and the airframe gets covered in it, pilot gets covered in it, it gets everywhere. And that deflector shield there just catches the worst of it. And it then drips off that, I guess. But it is a total loss system, and you fill one oil tank. You fill one tank with oil and one tank with petrol. And I've no idea what the ratio is. Some bright spark will probably tell me, but there we go. It's a total loss oil system. So what I've also been doing is I've added the metal plates, which I'm not sure whether these will actually show up. Whether the focus will work, but the metal plates have been added to the undercarriage legs, and all these are aluminium foil that's been cut on my plotter. I drew them in Illustrator and then cut them on the plotter, and then attached them to the model and then painted them black. I've then done some airbrushing, which I think I've probably overdone it a little bit. The woodwork is darker where the joints are and near the ends. It's supposed to be darker, and on video these look actually too dark, but in real life it doesn't look quite so shocking as that. I might, once it's completely dry, I might take some steel wool to it and just soften that shading off a little bit. I've added the axle to the undercarriage, just a carbon rod over the top of the piano wire just to make it more to the scale size. I've also made, and you might not be able to see these, I turned pulleys up on the lathe, and there's some little aluminium brackets that need to be painted black here. And there's a pulley on the other side as well. These are for the guiding the cables across, for the, in this case, pulling down on the trailing edge spar. And then I've also added pulleys one either side. You can just about see them there. Again, they're to take the cables down to those pulleys at the bottom and then out to the wings. So I've been getting on. Anyway, I've put it off long enough. I think it's time for us to mix up some white paint and paint the sample section of surface, you know, that little test piece or test airframe that I made that's covered in tissue and dope. I think we'll spray that first and see how it looks. If that's okay, then we'll go on to the wings and spray the wings. And then if that's still okay, then we'll look at the tailplane. When I come back here and I show you, you can see that the outline, the black tubing, is a little bit too strong, and I need to just tone that down. It's nice and black where the cruciform is. That bit does stay black. That's fine. But the surfaces themselves should be a little bit more cream than that. So we'll see. All right. Next thing, mix and paint. Right. So I've just triple checked online, and it is 9 parts XF1, which is the white, to XF88, which is dark yellow number 2. So I'm just going to mix up some just to see what the stuff looks like. So 9 to 1. It's going to be a little bit difficult to work that out, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my pipette, and I'll put, you know, sort of 9 drips of white in there and 1 drip of this yellow in there. That should give us the 9 to 1 ratio, so we can get a look at it and see what it looks like. So I need another pipette. There's one pipette. I must order some more of these pipettes. They were very cheap, you know, there was 50 of them for not very much, and I've got through them, so they do get used. So let's just make sure this is nicely stirred before we go any further. And I'll do the same with a pot of white. So we get an idea of this. I think it needs to be more of a yellow colour than this, but you know, the plastic modelers really do know their stuff. So if they've come up with this formula, then they're probably closer than I am. As I said, I am rubbish at mixing paints and colours. It doesn't seem to matter what I do, I end up with brown. Just different kind of shades of brown. So I don't know what I do wrong. My friends keep telling me, oh, you need to look at this, you need to do that, the colour wheel will tell you it's easy. Well, I don't find it easy. So I'm going to see if I can get 9 drips out of this. That's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's 9 drips of that. Probably wasted 20 drips just in that pipette. And then we'll waste another pipette. In fact, I'm not even going to bother with a pipette. I'm just going to put a drip in. That's all I need. 1 drip should do us. And get it to drip. There we go. And we'll take another one and we'll give that a stir. That's the colour before we start. That's gone yellow. That's got a nice cream colour. Now I'm going to add another little bit of white to that. I know what you're all shouting, that's going to fall over. You're probably right. I'm just going to add a little bit more white to it. Not that I know what I'm doing. And now I've got a colour that's a bit more like ice cream. This colour might work, you know. There's certainly enough there to do a quick test. So I think that's what we're going to do. Let's see how this looks when we actually use it in anger. Let's turn the compressor on. I love this new little Bambi compressor, brilliant. So for this small job I'm just going to use my little gun, my Harder and Steenbeck Ultra. That'll do for this, and we're down at 15 psi. Pot for resting the gun in, our sample piece. There you go, that Bambi is up to 120 psi now. It'll just sit there. Right, so we're just going to spray this and see how it comes out. Should just a bit. That's not thin enough. Let's thin that down just a bit. This is Tamiya thinners. If you're going to thin anything, I would always suggest Tamiya thinners. Don't use anything else. Oops, that's sucked up a load. Right, so where's my stirring stick gone? Let's just get that. I think what's happened a little bit there is some of my paint was actually drying in this pot. Right, let's see how that goes on. I haven't made much, it's just enough to try as a sample. And here we go. I'm liking the way that's going on because it's not going on. I'm getting some spattering there, that's not good. Good reason for doing the testing. But as you can see, it's going on. If I lay it on heavy, I can actually block out the undersurface. I'm getting spattering here and that's not good. Ah, there's a hair on the front of the outlet. That might be it. Let's hope so. Keep going. So I don't know whether you can see what's happening. It's covering, but it's not covering, you know, it's not making it completely opaque. It's remaining fairly transparent. So if I put it on a little bit more heavily on the edges, I can actually block the frame underneath, or the structure underneath is obscured. if I just put it on everywhere else, it's just adding a touch of colour. Spitting again, we've got another little build-up on here. It's not very good. Getting a little tiny build-up of glue, not glue, of paint on the inside of the nozzle. Can't have that happening. That's not good. Well, let's have a look at the other side. Try again. A bit more on the other side. So I think what I'm going to be able to do is just like this, just a light dusting over the whole thing. And that'll give us a clear dope lining look, you know, the colour. Now whether that's going to be enough to actually cover the black airframe underneath, you know, the framework, I don't know. But it's not a million miles away from the colour of the tissue. So I'm more than happy with that. There we go. That was all that was in there. Yeah, I like that. We've got to try and make sure we don't... It's done it again. I think it might be the mix of the paint. It may not be mixed well enough. Or it's a bit too dry, perhaps. Anyway, that went well, I think. So I think what I'll do on the next one is I'll actually thin it down a little bit further and take it, add a bit more thinner to the paint, and just make it a little bit more, or reduce the viscosity even further, and see if that helps with this problem I'm getting on with it. I'm ending up with paint drying in the nozzle, I don't know what you call it, not the nozzle, but the output of the gun. Just thinned that down, and that's some of the paint that was already thinned. I've just thinned it a bit further, because that's what I think's happening. I think the paint's going on too dry, so we've added a bit more thinner to it. And that's covering nicely now, and it's going on wet, which is good. I think it was going on too dry earlier on that other bit. But the colour's still covering nicely. Yeah. I'm happy with that, I think. So we'll mix up a full batch, see if we can get that same colour, and we'll try the wings. So that's 4 jars gone in so far. That's 8. 1 more to go. Obviously I could have done this with a lesser amount and just weighed it. Maybe that would have been an easier way to get 9 to 1. But oh, whatever. I'll probably need the stuff again, so it'll keep. And that's 9. Now in theory we should be able to put this entire dark yellow in there. That's how it goes. 9 to 1. See what the colour ends up like. Right, 9 to 1. There's the jar. Give it a stir, see what we get. Nice rich colour, that's for sure. So there we go, 9 to 1. Now I'm going to add a little bit of thinners to that. We may need to add more to that, I don't know yet. Right, so I'm going to go get a wing. We'll try spraying one side of a wing, see how it looks. At least we know all the colour is going to be the same colour, which is a bonus. Let's get a wing. We'll start on the underside and see how we get on. Initially that looks too thick to me, but we'll see. As you can see, it's covering the carbon area quite nicely. Yep. Might have been better using the Iwata, which has got a bigger nozzle in it. Just going with a little bit more thinners. Just to see if we can get the coverage up a little bit higher. It's quite a large surface to be spraying with such a small gun. It's going on well though, it's looking alright. I could up the pressure a little bit, that might help. Saying that, pump's just come on. I'm going to wind it up just a little bit. That's better. Now I don't want the colour to fill in completely. I don't want to turn this thing into a solid block of clear dope linen yellow or creamy white. All I want to do is give it a hint of the colour. So I'm not going to fill it right in. I don't want to completely cover it in paint. I still want it to be see-through. So all I'm really doing is just giving it a sort of a first coat, and that'll probably be all it gets. So I just want to give it the colour. And the ribs, I still want them to show, but I am softening down the areas where the ribs maybe are a little bit, a bit of darker wood in the ribs. The full size is very, very spattered with colour, yellow, orangey colour, and I'm hoping to replicate that. And I think it's mainly castor oil that's staining the airframe. So I'm up around 20 psi now, and it's going on nicely at that. Right, I'll just concentrate on the leading edge, see if we can hide some of that carbon rod. Now I'm just trying to soften the trailing edge, because I put so much on the trailing edge to get rid of that carbon that I need to blend it into the rest of the wing. So there we go. I think that'll do. I don't want to go any heavier than that. So I'll clean the brush, let that dry, and then we'll do a bit more. Well, really pleased with how that went. But what I'm going to do for this next session is I'm moving up to the HP TR2, which is the Iwata airbrush. It's got a little bit more power. Put it out a little bit quicker. And off we go. You see we're already putting on a lot more paint. It's much quicker. So as you can see, the wing is still nice and see-through. It's just I've just toned the tissue to be more in line with this clear dope linen yellow. It's sort of a creamy colour. I'm going to move straight on to the first wing, which is dry, and attack the upper surface now. I'm going to do this white area first, which is white paper underneath. You can see how well the paint just colours everything, just to be, it's almost the same colour as the tissue, but not quite, but it's just blocking out some of the structure underneath. I don't want to block it all out, because the structure's in the right place, it's scale structure, so I want to keep it. So I'm just trying to just colour it, really. And there we go, that's 2 wing panels now completely painted. Now, I think I just need to mask off some of the area on the fuselage, and then we can have a go at spraying that. But there are some areas that I don't need to worry about masking, and that's the rudder. So I'm going to just quickly try the rudder and see how it looks. See if we can hit maybe an elevator rather than a rudder. And that's doing exactly what I'd hoped it would do. It's just softening the black of the carbon tube that's inside the frame. Lovely. That's perfect. That's exactly what I was hoping for. So I've just taken it from a sort of a tissue colour. Be careful I don't spray the skid. Just taking it from a tissue colour to sort of a cream, which is what I was hoping for. I'm going to keep going, I think. can't do the forward part of the fuselage just yet because that'll need a little bit of masking. So I hope you saw some of that, although you've seen me spray before, so I don't think it's anything new. So I just thought I'd show you how the Blackburn is looking at the moment. That's with the paintwork all done. Well, the base colour is on, and you can see I've kept the translucency. Still see all of the stringers and bits and pieces that make up the fuselage, which is what I wanted. I wanted to obscure some of the darker carbon in the tail, and I've done that. You can still see it, but you can see it on the full size, but it's not carbon, obviously. But I've subdued it quite a bit. So all the black bits that you see, the cruciform and the horns and that sort of stuff, they'll all be picked out in black. So they'll come out again. The wings are good. I've subdued the trailing edge, which is carbon, and the wingtips, which are carbon as well. They're nice and subdued, so that's good. So I'm really pleased with that, and I'm really pleased with the general look of it. It's looking very good. Really happy with that. So it's got to have a bit of a shine on it, and I don't know whether it would have had a shine originally, but probably just doped fabric would have a bit of a luster to it. So I'm probably going to use a satin finish and spray it over the top. But before I do that, I'm going to add all the weathering and all the castor oil staining that the fuselage gets. And I'm not sure how to do that yet, and you can make or break a model by doing the weathering wrong. But we'll see. I'm going to have to give it a go, and then we'll clear coat with a satin over the whole thing probably, or mainly the fuselage prop wash kind of area. Maybe a bit glossier on the prop wash and just a satin finish on the rest of it. Anyway, there you go. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please click like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.